Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mina and we are starting another reading vlog today. This time it is not going to be Star Wars themed. I'm actually taking a little bit of a Star Wars break because I am reading one of my most anticipated reads of the year, and that is The Burning Girls by CJ Tudor. I have been looking forward to this for a long time. Well, since I heard about it, and I have read two other of CJ Tudor's books, which were The Chalkman and The Other People. I absolutely loved The Chalkman. It's one of my favorite thrillers of all time. It's just so like retro and nostalgic, and it reminds me a lot of Stephen King and It, so I don't know, and it's just so creepy and it has such a good vibe. There's a lot of like twists and turns, so I love CJ Tudor's writing. The Other People, which I read last year, I also remember enjoying it, but it's definitely not as impactful as The Chalkman was for me. I think I forgot a little bit about the plot and I didn't enjoy it as much as The Chalkman, but I still remember enjoying it. So that being said, when I heard that she was coming out with a new book this year, I was extremely hype, and I read the description and I was even more excited. So it's going to be kind of hard to explain this because there are a lot of things going on in this book. I'm going to try to keep it as vague as possible, and I will give you guys my thoughts on the first 100 pages of this book because I am about 100 pages in. I started reading it yesterday, so I'll talk to you guys a little bit later about my thoughts. But in terms of what this book is about, it follows a woman who is a vicar, I think it's pronounced vicar, like basically a priest, and she is moving from her town with her daughter to a very small town because she was kind of kicked out from her previous parish by the reverend or whoever was in charge. They don't exactly explain at this point in the novel what the reason for her departure is, but they do kind of hint at something having happened, and I don't know what that is. I'm like trying to figure out what it is, but that's like the basic premise. And when she moves with her daughter to this new town and starts working at this new church, there's a lot of dark history that is tied to this church. The previous vicar committed suicide, and there is this legend of these burning girl ghosts that appear and that are haunting the church because that church was the site of a historic tragedy in which a bunch of Protestants were burned alive by the, I don't remember it, like Queen Mary people. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I'm like really not good at explaining like history and things like that. I don't know like the accuracy of this, so I'm just trying to like go off of like what I've read and what I understand. So there is a lot going on. There's like multiple plots and subplots happening at the same time. We get the vicar's perspective for most of the story, and then interspersed between the chapters, there's all these other little side stories from the past, and also like other characters that we haven't really been introduced to yet, but we're kind of still getting their perspective, if that makes sense. So it is a pretty complex story. I will talk to you guys in a little bit about my thoughts about it, but so far I'm really enjoying it and I can't wait to like read more and finish this. I'm anticipating that this is gonna be like a 4 to 5 star read, but I don't want to set any high expectations for myself. Also, this is a long weekend for me. Today is Friday. I had off today because of Lunar New Year, and on Monday I have off because of President's Day. So I've got like a good amount of time to spend reading and not thinking about work, which is always nice. Today my plans are to go back to the post office. As you guys know from my last vlog, I had a whole mishap, but I made a new appointment. I have my driver's license this time, so I'm going to go do the passport thing that I have to do, and then I'm gonna go to my parents' house afterwards. So I will catch up with you guys a little bit later with my thoughts on the first 100 pages. Hello you guys, it's a little bit later and I just finished dealing with that post office situation and it was fine. Thank God. I've been having like, I was just really nervous going in, thinking like, oh my God, what if I forget something this time? Or like, what if they don't accept it, whatever. It went fine and the guy was nice, so I'm just like really relieved that that is over. I've come to the conclusion recently that I think I have social anxiety. And it's not like really surprising or shocking to me because I've always known that that there's something wrong with me. No, that like I have this problem, but I guess never knew what it was called or the proper term for it. But I get so freaking nervous and anxious when I have to speak to people that I don't know, particularly for like important matters or like clerical work, administrative stuff. Like that gives me so much anxiety to the point where like my heart was like beating while I was like giving the guy my papers, like please don't let there be anything wrong. And then even like asking questions, like I get so nervous. And then like at the post office there were so many people there for some reason and just like waiting online behind me, and I was like, oh my god, they can hear everything that I'm saying. Oh my god, I just get so anxious. I don't know what the situation is or why I'm like this, and it's like so weird because I'm a teacher, so you would think that somebody who speaks to others for a living and kind of puts themselves out there for their job wouldn't be nervous by these things. But even as a teacher, guys, like before I meet my students, like the first class that I have every semester, I'm always super nervous, and I don't know, that's just, I don't know how to deal with it sometimes. But whatever, enough about that. I got myself a cold brew, so I'm really happy about that. It's like the coldest day of the year and I still have myself a large cold brew, so I don't know what my problem is. But I really came on here so that I could talk to you guys a little bit about my thoughts on the first 100 pages of The Burning Girls. I told you earlier that I'm absolutely loving this, and I really, really am. It's so good, you guys. It's just like, it's like watching a TV series and wanting to keep going to the next episode and like binging it. That's how I feel about this book. I want to keep reading every chapter. And CJ Tudor is so good at suspense and leaving you on a cliffhanger at the end of chapters so that you want to know what the hell is going on. She is just so good. And I was reading like somebody who blurbed her book. Who was it? Somebody said Tudor is the queen of the cliffhanger, and they're literally so correct. It was John Mars, interesting. And Stephen King blurbed her, so I don't know. It's just so good. I'm loving the fact that this is sort of a, I don't want to say like a religious horror novel, but there's obviously religious themes going on in here because our main character is a vicar. I don't know how to say that word. Vicar? Whatever. She's basically a priest, and she works in a church, and this church is haunted, so there are a lot of like Christian and religious themes embedded within the text, and I feel like sometimes that makes the text creepier. There's also a little bit of a mention of exorcisms and possession, so I'm hoping that that becomes a bigger part of the plot as we continue on, because that shit freaks me out. Like, it really freaks me out, and I don't know, this is just such a good book. I wish I could more accurately describe my feelings and like thoughts, but I don't want to spoil anything, and I feel like I went into this book knowing very little, and it's doing really well for me. And if you are planning on reading this book, I think you should go in not knowing much about the events or the plot, but the characters are fascinating. I love the main character. She has such a witty and sarcastic tone to her, and she has this like half judgmental but also half like pious kind of attitude that I just like love. So really digging that, and I don't know, this might be a 5-star read, you guys. It just might be. And it's creepy. There's some like creepy imagery and like Blair Witchy things going on, which is totally perfect. Oh, and there's a lot of like horror genre references, Stephen King references, horror movie references, which is right up my alley. So I'm really, really digging this. I'm gonna go to my parents' house now, probably read some more there. And then when I come home, me and my husband are gonna watch the new episode of Servant, which is a show that we've been loving. Totally recommend that if you like anything creepy or horror or M. Night Shyamalan, because he created the show. And yeah, this clip is extremely long. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit later. I just wanted to pop in, tell you that I'm feeling good, that the passport thing is over, and that I am really enjoying this book. Okay, I will see you guys later. So I'm here at my parents' house, in my old bedroom, in my old bed, and I'm reading. I didn't get too far yet, but this book is so good. I don't know what it is. I feel like it's been a long time since I've read anything that has been really like eerie. I'm trying to think. I've read like a couple of thrillers within the past couple of months, but nothing has really not scared me, but like just unsettled me in certain ways. So I am enjoying that aspect about this book. Like I said, there's a lot of like horror movie references and like cultural references to 80s and 90s things, and I can really tell that CJ Tudor is a fan of the genre and that she knows her stuff when it comes to horror, which is always nice. There was one line that I wanted to share with you guys. I hope I can find it again. Let me just see if I can find it. Okay, I can't find it, which is annoying because like I feel like it was on one of these pages. But basically the quote was, you can, or you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but you can judge a lot about a person based on the books that they like to read. Something like that. And I just thought that that was really interesting because I wonder like what people think of me based on my interests in books and even movies. Like I remember when, I don't even know who it was that told me this, but when I told somebody that I really liked horror and I liked reading things and watching things that are scary, they were like, you would never guess that like you would be into those things. And I always find that such an interesting thing that people do, is that we like judge a person based on their appearance and kind of like assume that they like certain things because they look a certain way or they dress a certain way or they act a certain way. And like that's just so wrong and so inaccurate, because I don't know, like I feel like people's interests are not always a physical manifestation of themselves. Like I don't only wear like horror movie related clothing or accessories or things like that, or I don't dress like or act like I would like horror movies, which is weird because like who, like how do you act like you like horror movies? I think people just have these like preconceived notions and like stereotypes about horror, and they associate that with like being gothic or like wearing a lot of dark colors and being different from the rest. But I don't know, like I don't consider myself to be different or gothic in any way, and I still enjoy horror. So I don't know, this has become like a rambling clip, but I basically thought that that was interesting because I wonder like the opposite when I tell people that I do like horror, what are their initial reactions that they may not say to me? Like, do they think that that's weird, or do they think that that's interesting? Are you like, do you guys like think that about a person when they like tell you their favorite types of films or books? Do you like think about them in a different way? I don't know. I just thought that that was fascinating. Okay, I'm gonna go back to reading now. Hello friends, it is now the next day. It's Saturday morning. I woke up a little bit later, slept in, because this week has been a week. I mean, honestly, like the past 2 weeks have been pretty rough. We just started the new semester, as you guys know, if you watched my last vlog, and the beginning of the semester is always very stressful because I'm kind of like acclimating myself with my new class, getting used to the students, the routine, and there's a lot of like planning and things that have to get done at the beginning. So been pretty rough these past 2 weeks. So it's really nice that I have this 4-day weekend to just relax and not worry about waking up early and doing a bunch of work things. So shout out to Lunar New Year and President's Day. I did want to come on here and update you guys on The Burning Girls. I am now up to page 175, so I did get a good chunk of this read yesterday. And I think I'm like halfway or maybe a little bit over halfway with this. And I really, really like it. It's so good. I feel like there's not much for me to report to you guys because I want to keep things vague as usual. I don't want to include any spoilers, and really with this type of novel, it's like horror mystery, so I can't really share like the information that I'm learning along the way because that would spoil things. And like I said, I think going into this book having zero to very little knowledge would probably be better than knowing too much. So that's why I'm not going to get into too much content related things. I do want to say that, and I mentioned this yesterday, I absolutely love reading from the perspective of Jack. She's just such an interesting character, and she's really like down to earth and relatable, which is weird because I wouldn't normally find myself relating to like a Christian clerical figure, but something about her personality and the way that she, like her sense of humor, all of those things are super down to earth, super relatable, super humble, and I'm finding myself really enjoying the religious content. It's not like an overload of religious content where they're just like spewing like Jesus and like other like biblical names and things like that. There are some like biblical quotes that are included that kind of project the story along and that are important to the plot, but there's a lot of discussion of having faith and like the different ways that people have faith and the different, I don't want to say like interpretations of faith, but obviously not everybody's faith is the same, and people believe in different things and in different ways, if that makes sense. So I feel like there's a lot of discussion about the variety of ways that you can worship and be considered religious, which I think is cool. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and I touched upon it yesterday, is the small discussion of exorcisms that has been kind of sprinkled throughout this story. And yesterday we came upon a scene where Jack is talking about the history of exorcisms and how the early church used exorcisms as a way to subjugate and kind of keep women within their place. And when that scene happened, I really loved reading about it because I actually took a class when I was in grad school called Medieval Death. And one of the parts of our curriculum within that class was focusing on exorcisms. And I even wrote my final paper on medieval exorcisms and how they are used to control women and how they're used to quiet women. And for somebody who has learned about that stuff, who studied that and found it interesting and has a little bit of knowledge on that, I always find it interesting when you come across something that you've studied before and you can kind of say like, oh my God, I can connect this back to something that I actually learned in school and like apply what I learned and studied to what they're talking about here. And it's just such an interesting topic. I don't know if you guys are like familiar with this, but basically my final paper was focusing on how the church during medieval European times would use exorcisms as a way to keep women in their place, to kind of say that women are beneath men and to kind of lower them to a lower social status than men. And most exorcisms were performed on women by male clerical figures. So it's like an interesting dynamic, and it's an interesting way that the patriarchy was like preserved and how these misogynistic and anti-feminist ideals were like embedded within that culture during that time. And one thing that Jack brings up in this book is that these aren't necessarily like ideals of the Bible. They're more so like ideals of people or men in power who are using the Bible and who are using the religion in a way to benefit themselves and to not benefit other groups of people, if that makes sense. And I find that such an interesting and fascinating topic. I know it was only really like one short section that was focusing on that, but I just like really connected with that moment because it was something that I knew a little bit about and could kind of like recall things that I wrote about and studied about. So that's all I wanted to say. I know this turned into like a geek history moment, but I just like love those moments in books where you're like, oh my God, I actually know kind of something about this topic. Anyway, I don't have any plans today. It's kind of cold outside and I'm pretty sure I'm staying home all day, so I'm just going to get some reading done, start editing this vlog. This clip is extremely long, I apologize, and I will check in with you guys a little bit later when I have some more reading thoughts. Pause for a second because they keep mentioning the word vicar, whatever, and I need to know how it's pronounced properly. So let's find out, because I've said it too many times in this video. Pronunciation. If it's vicar, I think it's vicar. Oh my God. I've said it wrong. Vicar. Okay, so it's vicar. Hi friends, it's later on in the night. It's about 6 p.m. right now and I didn't get too much reading in today. I don't even know what the heck I've been doing today, like editing, resting, watching YouTube. I am gonna do some more reading tonight though, so I will get in more reading, but I did want to come on here, update you guys just a little bit, and also tell you like what I'm doing. So I'm about to take a shower. It is freezing. I don't even know like why it's so cold in here. Oh, the heat is not on in this room. That is why. Okay, so hopefully that will help, but it's really cold in here. I'm gonna take a shower, wash my hair, and then probably start dinner. I'm cooking butter chicken. It's like this Indian creamy sauce with chicken, and I'm gonna make some basmati rice and some like veggies on the side. I don't like make the sauce myself. I actually buy like a jar of butter chicken sauce from ShopRite, so I'm not that culinarily skilled. Anyway, I did want to come on and talk a little bit about The Burning Girls. One thing that I am not crazy about, it's not really a critique, but I guess if there's like one thing that I could critique about this book is that there is so much going on. And I think that this is just like a CJ Tudor thing. Like she always has so many things happening at one time, because the same thing happened during the Chalkman. There were so many like threads of plot lines that were happening in different characters, and I'm noticing the same thing happening with The Burning Girls, where there are literally so many characters and I'm finding myself forgetting who some people are. Like a name will be mentioned and I'll be like, wait a minute, who is Joan again? Or who is Matthew? Or who is whoever? Mary, Joy. There's like just so many names. Like obviously the major characters, Jack and her daughter Flo, like whenever I see those names, I know who they are. But all of these side characters, it's kind of hard to keep tabs of them, and the fact that she refers to them by sometimes their last name, sometimes their full name, sometimes just their first name, sometimes it's like Reverend whoever, and then it gets like confusing when they're being referred to by a different name or a different title. So that's one thing that is a little bit tough when it comes to reading this book. And also just the fact that there's so much content and so many things happening at once, it makes it a little bit hard to juggle all of the different like plot lines and things that are happening. Usually if, you know, this follows the same approach as the Chalkman did, everything will kind of tie together and connect by the end of the story. So I don't think that it's like that huge of a deal, but just know going into this book that there is a lot happening. Like there's like our major characters and like their conflict and their problems, but then there's all of these past characters and their conflict and their problems. Then there's all of these side characters that live within the small town and their problems and like what happened to their kids and whatever. And then there's like relatives and things like that. So it's just a lot. And I mean, I can still keep up with what's going on, but like I said, it just takes me a moment to kind of reorient myself every time I get back into the book and see a name or get into a new chapter and think like, okay, wait, who are we talking about, or like what's going on here? So that's the only thought that I wanted to bring up, but I'm about to go wash my hair and I will catch you guys later. Hello friends, it is now the next day. It is Sunday and it's Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day to everybody if you celebrate. If you don't, I hope you just have a good day anyway. Me and my husband don't really celebrate Valentine's Day. He did get me flowers last night, which is nice, and we'll probably just order takeout, but we don't do anything crazy or big for the day. So that being said, I came on here to update you guys, tell you it's the next day, and I don't really have too much to report about The Burning Girls. By the way, like this book without the dust jacket is so pretty. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's got this beautiful like orange shine in the text, and it's orange. But I did want to mention that upon my reading yesterday, there was a little bit of a reveal or twist, if you will. It wasn't anything like too shocking that I was like, oh my god, like that is so crazy, that is so intense. I didn't like really predict this or even think about it, but it was just like a character's identity, I guess, was revealed. And I don't know how I feel about that revelation. I think like one thing that I don't care for in like thrillers and mysteries is when information is withheld from the reader because the author wants to make a particular twist or revelation later on. If it's done really well, it can work really well, but I feel like I don't like when characters know that information and then they just do not talk about it, even though it's a very important part of their life and their current experience and their current situation, and they're kind of talking about it, but they're just not mentioning like the actual secret that is going to be revealed. And then later on they're like, oh yeah, and then blah blah blah, and then they reveal it, and it's like, okay, but you've been talking for the past like 200 pages about this person or about this thing just like secretively, and just didn't mention that, and then like now you're mentioning it. So it seems like a little bit of a, I guess, cop out, I want to say, or like an easy way to do a twist or revelation. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know, I feel like I'm being like really harsh and critical. I still absolutely love this book, and I think that CJ Tudor is an excellent author and she's excellent at what she does, and she's not the only one who does this, but I just personally do not like when thriller and mystery writers do that, because I feel like I said, like it's just an easy way to get a thrill when this information could have been revealed, and in reality would have been revealed had this not been like a thriller or mystery book. Like our main character would have thought about this information and would have like said it like earlier on, but they just didn't, because the author wanted it to be like a really big shock later on. So that's just what I wanted to say. I do hope to finish this book today. I don't know if I'm going to. I'm like more than 200 pages in, and this book is 330 pages, so I'm gonna get as much done as I can today, but if I don't finish it today, then I will most likely be finishing it tomorrow. But yeah, that's all I wanted to come on here and say to you guys. We're not doing anything today, so hopefully I'll get a bunch of reading done, and I do want to film like a sit-down video for the channel, so maybe I will do that as well. I will check in with you guys in a little bit and talk to you later. Hello guys, it is a little bit later. It's now about 6 o'clock. We just came back from taking a drive and getting Starbucks. I forgot to take you guys along with us. I literally brought my camera and just completely forgot to vlog, but it's okay. Anyway, I'm about 275 pages into The Burning Girls, and I am still really liking it. I think the more that I get closer to the end, I'm just gonna keep getting like more answers to some of the mysteries. So there will probably be nothing for me to tell you guys except for like my opinions, because I don't want to spoil anything, but I am still really liking it. I think that it reminds me a lot of The Chalkman, just the structure of this book and how CJ Tudor kind of like creates characters and creates plot lines. It's very similar to The Chalkman as opposed to The Other People. I feel like The Other People was kind of like a separate novel. Like it didn't actually feel like a CJ Tudor novel to me. But then again, like I read it a year ago, so maybe I have to revisit it. And I think I need to revisit The Chalkman because I keep saying that it's like one of my favorite thrillers of all time. But I wonder if I reread it, if I would like still feel the same way about it as I did the first time around. So maybe I'll do like a rereading vlog. But anyway, I only have, I guess that's like 50 pages left or like 60 pages left of this. I'm going to try to read as much as I can for the rest of the night. I don't know if I will finish it, but even if I do finish it, I will probably not give you guys my final thoughts until tomorrow. So I will catch in with you guys later or possibly tomorrow. Valentine's roses still growing strong 2 days later. Hello you guys, it is now Tuesday. I didn't film anything yesterday, I apologize, but I did end up finishing The Burning Girls yesterday, so I wanted to give you guys my final thoughts on the book. And I just have to say that this was one of my most anticipated reads of 2021, and it did not disappoint. And I think that CJ Tudor is probably one of my favorite thriller writers of this time. I just think that she is so good at crafting these complex thriller horror mysteries with so many things going on at once, and then like expertly tying everything together by the end of the novel. I feel like that is like her strongest point. I do have to say that throughout the novel, I did struggle a little bit with keeping up with character names and plot lines, things like that. So while I do admire her ability to piece together all of these different plot lines and characters and histories, I do think that sometimes it can get a little bit much and confusing, and it's hard to keep up with everything in the moment. So that's probably the only reason why I would like dock my rating just a little bit. I think I'm going to rate it like a 4.75. It was almost a 5-star read for me, but it definitely was one of my favorites of the year so far, and I think it's going to be really hard to top this. I also just really loved reading from the perspective of Jack and getting to hear like her take on faith and religion, and all of that like discussion of faith and religion and believing things was just really fascinating to me, and I think that it lends itself nicely to a complex horror novel like this, because there are some aspects about religion and the discussion of like believing things that can work really well with horror. For example, the exorcism bits and plotline was super creepy. super dark, and I appreciated that a lot. I also just really thought that she does a really good job at making these relatable and down-to-earth characters that you can really connect with, even if you don't have too many things in common with the character. Like, I'm not a mother, I'm not a vicar, I'm not, you know, anybody like that, but I still felt myself being able to relate and connect to a lot of the things that Jack was thinking and saying, so that was really nice. And I just felt that overall there was like a really nice ending to this book. There were a lot of twists, a lot of revelations, a lot of things that I didn't see coming. So I'm always like, I always love the ending of CJ Tudor books because, like I said, she ties everything together and wraps up all of the loose ends, and there's always some kind of dark, creepy twist towards the end of her stories. So I definitely do appreciate that about her writing, and I'm definitely looking forward to whatever her next book is. She mentioned in the acknowledgements, which I always do read, I want to read it to you guys because it's so funny. At the end, she was like, so, same time again next year? And I was just like, oh my god, that means that she's coming out with something next year possibly, which is super exciting. So, highly recommend this for any thriller lover, any mystery lover. I just thought this book was excellent, and now I don't know if I love this more or the Chalkman more. I don't know. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. I will see you guys very soon in my next video. Please let me know what some of your anticipated reads for 2021 are, if they're horror, if they're thriller, if you have anything that you're looking forward to that maybe I don't know about. Please let me know down below in the comments, and I hope that everybody has a wonderful day today. Bye guys!